Hi everyone, this is Morgan. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to format your collages both for printing and for turning in as JPEGs to Canvas. So what I'm starting off with here is a file that still has a lot of layers. You can see them open here in my layers panel. So obviously this is really increasing my file size to have each of these individual flowers as layers. So what's good is I've just saved this with the name, and I'll show it to you in the Save As window. I've just saved it with a really recognizable name. So maybe for you, just having it as your collage.psd file is enough info. I wanted to get really specific, so I named this image box underscore 16 by 20 underscore layers. So I would know exactly the size and the fact that it still had all of its layers. So if you haven't already saved your file, make sure you save a version that is completely finished but still has layers. And I'll click that again to save. And I'll actually cancel out of it because I don't need to save over it. But we're starting off with this file, which we just made sure we had a saved version of with layers. Now I'm going to start prepping it to be printed. So the first important thing is to flatten this image. We don't need all of these layers submitted to the printer. So I'm going to go to the layer dropdown and go almost all the way to the bottom to flatten image. So now I have a file that is significantly less big. You might have just seen the jump here where it went from almost 500 megabytes to just about 50, which is great. A few things you could do at this stage. You could sharpen this file just so it's a tiny bit more crisp by the time you send it to the printer. I'm going to go to Filter and then go to the Sharpen dropdown. So from Sharpen, I'm going to select Smart Sharpen. And I would encourage you to set the numbers exactly as I've outlined them here. This gives a very slight sharpening adjustment to your image. If you over sharpen images, they tend to be too contrasty. So I would just pause and type in these exact numbers into your windows as well. I'm going to click OK. So now at this point, a good thing to do would be to check the color profile this image is in. That determines how the pixel colors are translated to the printer. I'm going to go to the Edit dropdown, and from there I'm going to find Convert to Profile. So here you can see my image is currently in the Pro Photo space, and that's actually great. The Visual Resources Lab requests that images are either in Pro Photo or Adobe RGB. So if for whatever reason you don't see either Adobe RGB or Pro Photo here, you would just change the destination space. So I'll just have that read Adobe RGB and click OK. So at this point, this file is ready to be printed. I'm now going to save it as a unique file. So when you're done with this, you'll have one file that has layers, one file that's for printing, one file that's for the web. So I'm going to go, and then I'm going to keep a lot of the name the same. I'll just say that this is Fox 16 by 20, but it's my print file. I'll save it to the desktop. So now this is ready to go. I'm going to review the print request form. And here I have Canvas pulled up, and I have our announcements page pulled up. If you need the print request form, you can always go to our very first announcement, which is large format printing allowance. And you can see as a teeny tiny PDF attachment, the form is here. I'll open it on my computer. This form can be turned in either physically when you drop off your work or your file to be printed. You can also submit all that stuff online. What you will need to fill out, your basic contact info, your file name, how big the document is, which should be 16 by 20, the same as the printed image, the resolution, which should be between 200 and 300, the quantity, which just needs to be 1, and whether you have a preference for matte or semi-gloss, or if you don't have a preference, you can also note that here. Here, you'll just tell them that you're printing for AD127, Digital Media Fundamentals, and that Morgan Berry is your faculty instructor. You could get my signature if you're turning this in physically, but again, they should have your roster information available and should know that you're in the class you claim to be. There are also some reminders on this part of the form about how to flatten your image and what format they want things in. So again, you should give the lab at least a day to turn over work. So don't turn this in last minute and expect them to hop to. So now we have our file ready to be printed. I'm going to show you how to format it to turn in on Canvas. That's something we've done before. It's just saving this as a smaller JPEG because obviously we don't need this file to be quite as big for just viewing on screens. So I'm going to go to Image, Image Size, and I'll just say the image should be 1920 pixels on the wide side. So I'm going to change the width to 1920 pixels. Make sure that your dialog box is displaying in pixels. The other options would be inches or percent or centimeters. Most often it's pixels or inches. So this is going to be 1920 pixels. I'll click OK. So now at this point, I'll just go to the File, Save As, and then this, instead of saving 16 by 20 or print, which is no longer accurate, I'll save it as Fox Web. And the format should no longer be Photoshop, it should be JPEG. And I'll click Save. And make sure you're saving it as the highest possible quality JPEG and click OK. So once you have that, you can head over to Canvas. And under our assignment page, there we go, our collage project, you should see that there is a submit assignment component to this particular page. This is where you'll want to upload the JPEG version of your file. So you'll be displaying your print during critique, but I also want to have copies of your work just for reference, so I have something to remember each of these images by. So this is where you'll submit, in our case, Fox_web. So this needs to be done before the beginning of our class, the day we critique. So it's really important that you have both the print and that you've submitted the web-ready JPEG, which you see I've done already. So that's the basics. Please let me know if you have any questions. And yeah, good luck.